So when we left off, we had just reminded you how to do slope, and that was the y's over the x's. And now I asked you to remember this formula. Y minus y1 equals, can you finish it? M x minus x1. Very good. Okay, now I'm going to put in the stuff in the right spots. It says perpendicular to this, and I know the slope is circled in blue there. So perpendicular to that means you do negative 6 over 5 for your slope. And then they say something about a point you should use. And remember, this is the spot where the point goes, there and there. It says to use the point 0, 1. X is 0. See, I put the x over here, and the y is 1. So I'm putting that over here. And there's my equation. And today's homework is mostly about, what if it isn't solved for y? Well, then you solve it for y. It's not that complicated. You just have to get the y alone. So if I distribute this out, and hey, isn't x minus 0 the same exact thing as just x? I know it is. X minus 0 is the same thing as x. Then I just have to add 1 to both sides. Plus 1 plus 1. Y equals negative 6/5 x. And then I added 1 plus 1. You're supposed to know this from the day before that. That's the slope, and that's the what? Y-intercept. Very good. Slope, y-intercept. So there's a lot of different ways that your equation can be not solved. Let me show you a couple. Y equals 2x plus 3x plus 1. That's not normal. What can go together here? Yeah, this would just be y equals 5x plus 1. Then it would be solved for y and all done. What if it's y minus 10 equals 2x plus 3? Is that solved for y yet? No. You just got to keep on finding ways to get it simpler. Y isn't alone. I'm going to add 10. Always look to add or subtract first. Now y is alone. So today's really just mostly, can you get the y to be alone, and therefore solved? And therefore in y equals mx plus what? B. Very good. Okay. So that's it. Pretty close. The only other thing is graphing them. So I want you to get this one up on your screen. Y equals 2x plus 13. If I had to graph it, I would just start at the y-intercept, which is that thing. That's where you start. And where's 13? Well, I don't know. I'll put a dot here and call it 13. And then it's got a slope of 2, which means you rise 2, and what's that other word? Rise over run. So I'd rise 2 and run 1. Up 2 and over 1. So it's kind of like that. Done. Graphed. So easy. But what if it isn't solved for y? That's kind of the point of today. 2x plus 3y equals, let's say 12. Is that solved for y? Not even close. That's a special form that's called standard form, where the x is first and then the y comes and then you got the answer. That's called standard form. Is y alone? No. Start by subtracting 2x. Would everybody please subtract 2x from both sides on this one? I made it up. Find a blank spot where you can do this problem. You know what you have to do for tonight's homework. So there's 2 parts to tonight's homework. A super short little graphing thing where you're going to graph like 5 things. And another little Schoology quiz, which also is like 5 questions long. On the Schoology quiz, you're just going to have to solve for y, like this. Did you subtract 2x from both sides? If you didn't know that those canceled, I'd be a little scared for you because they're opposites, so they're going to cancel. But this, I get how you might have done it backwards. You should have said negative 2x plus 12. Can't you say 12 minus 2x? No, because you're supposed to have the x first. Y is supposed to be here, x is supposed to be next, and your number is supposed to be last. Then to get the y completely alone, Amelia, what's stuck to the y? Yep, so we're going to do what to both sides? Divide by 3. And I like to do it in separate parts like this. Y is alone now. And here's my slope. Jackson, what's the slope here? It's not a 12. Oh, I think you're looking at the wrong thing. That. Negative 2 over 3 is the slope. And then Avia. This shouldn't really be a 12 over 3. We should simplify it to 4. And then 4 is the what? 2 words. Yep, it's the, you're right, it's the plus b part. We call it the y-intercept. That's called the y-intercept. This is slope. And that's the y-intercept. Look, the y's alone. That's the goal for today, is solve for y and graph equations. So if I gave you this and said graph it, do you know you'd start at the 4? And you'd rise, oh wait, you don't rise to. What's minus 2 mean? You don't rise to, what do? Go down 2, and then you run 3. All right, so we're going to do 2 things. We're going to start the Schoology quiz together, and that's the super simple just solve for y thing. We'll do the first couple problems of that. Then, it's super short. Then the other part is like an actual worksheet where you have to graph some. We'll start that today, and we'll finish it in class tomorrow. All right, so one thing at a time. Everybody please open the Schoology quiz. I'm going to pause while you find and open the Schoology quiz for today. Okay, so problem 1 of the Schoology quiz says this, and then, Jack, what am I supposed to do to it? Because what is the directions? You're supposed to...
Get the y alone?
Yeah. Does it say solve for y?
It says put it in the slope intercept.
Oh, slope intercept. Which sub means you solve for y. Y equals mx plus b. So yeah, we're supposed to solve for y, and so you were right. We're going to subtract x from both sides. Cancels. 3y equals, notice me putting x first. Solving for y, Avia, divide by. Now, if you're having trouble putting this into Schoology, I would understand. But what the slope is, there's no number here. I'll make it blue to make it stand out. I'm putting a 1 right there. So now can you see the slope? Negative 1/3. That's the slope. And 6 divided by 3, actually 2. So if I was writing this out, I'd say y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. And that would be easy to graph because you'd start here, the y-intercept, and then you'd rise negative 1, means you'd go down 1, and then you'd run 3. So it was rise over run. Negative rise, of course, means fall. All right, let's go do number 2. Lily, would you read me number 2?
Negative x plus y equals negative 2.
All right, your first job would have been to add x to both sides. Y equals x minus 2. Well, that's pretty easy. There's no number here, but I'm going to put a 1. Then, Lily, what does it ask you about it? Just to solve for y?
Slope intercept.
Oh, there it is. That's slope-intercept form. The slope's the 1. The intercept is the negative 2. See how easy these are? Okay, I know you might get stuck on one later, but these should be pretty easy. Now let's go to the other thing. Oh, wait, before we go there, question?
So should you just enter into Schoology as y equals x minus 2?
You would be allowed to say x minus 2 or 1x minus 2, either way. All right. Then, if it was that easy, it would almost be insulting because, like, that's really, really easy. How easy of a math class am I in anyways? But there's also graphing it. So now would you please open up the worksheet? It's a worksheet because it's so much easier to graph on a worksheet. The Schoology quizzes, you can't really graph stuff. So we're just going to do a few of them. I'm going to pause for a second while you pull up the graphing worksheet. So we're doing the evens on that graphing worksheet. All right, Carl, would you read me number 2, please?
Negative plus y equals -2.
And I feel like I've seen this one before. I'm adding x, y equals x minus 2. But then I think the point is to graph it, right? So you solve it for y like that. Jackson, tell me where I'm supposed to start in graphing this thing. Yep, -2, right here, that thing. And that is right here. I'm going down a couple, I'm putting a big blue dot there. Then, this doesn't have any numbers, so I'm going to help. I'm going to put 1 over 1, because that's the same thing as 1, and you can always put a 1 in front of something that doesn't have any coefficient, it's called. So now, I know I'm going to rise and run. 1 rise, 1 run. So every time you go up 1, you go over 1. You go up 1, you go over 1. You go up 1, you go over 1. Up 1, over 1. And look at how it makes a straight line. That's how you graph them. You start here. And then you rise, over you run.
Do we only have to do the 5?
Just the evens, 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. All the way to the end of the worksheet. I think it goes through 12, but there's only half of them, right? So I think there might be 6 questions, something like that, maybe 8. Okay, so Schoology quiz on the one hand, graphing problems on the other hand. Make sure you get the Schoology quiz done before you forget about it, because that one gets auto-graded by the computer, so that'll for sure be in the grade book. The other one, we'll have to grade in class somehow. Maybe we'll do the odd ones tomorrow or something, but do the even ones tonight. And that's all I got for you for the video for today.